Evening. You know, folks, I don't know how many times I have to say this to people, but when I read stuff off like this from fellow fans who are either just on DeviantArt, or they're on YouTube, or wherever, I can't help it. And it's not because I'm sided with them. No, it's nothing like that. It seems that every group and club that I've joined or watched, whether it's the anti-groups, the pro-groups, the in-the-middle groups, if you will, I can't help but most of the time see how much of the negative post, if you will, the criticized post, if you will, show up at these groups. Now, I have proven to everybody, and both skunk who's watching this knows this, that I can and will read the positives from fellow members, from fellow fan base and fans and all that. But to me, it's hard to try to find a lot, because most of the time, even like I say, in the pro groups, in the middle groups, you find stuff that people... Just ignore it, folks. It seems every time I do a video, the phone rings. I hate this time of year because most of the time it's political crap. But anyway, getting back on topic here, and I'm sorry I got a little stressed out there when I said, here we go again, because I was about to turn off my camera. See, it could have been my mom calling, and I'd have to turn off the camera, delete the video, and restart. And just to let people know, this is all about shooting. I don't rehearse or anything. It's all about shooting. If I check the number and it's my mom, then I'll turn off the camera and redo it. If it's an out-of-town, unknown number, I'll just keep going. So I apologize for that. But like I said, the truth is, no matter what group I'm in, most of the time you're going to see criticized stuff. You know, and that can't be helped. Sometimes you'll even see it at the Bumble King forums, where people are supposedly where it's supposedly rumored that people praise Ian's work, but I've seen that you have people that criticize his work too. I've seen that. You know, you go to Sonic Stadium, you go to the Sega forums in the cartoon comics section, you go to Saturday Morning Sonic, you go to Saturday AM Sonic, you even go to maybe Ken Pender's message board, and you'll hear people criticize. And not because, like they say, not because of, let's say they go to Ken's board, they're favoring him, no. They'll criticize no matter where they are. Even at the ToonZone.net message boards, they will criticize. So no matter where you go, or how you look at it, Ian Flynn, doesn't matter if it's Ian Flynn, doesn't matter if it's the previous writers like, say, Ken Penders or Carl Bowlers, or whoever, Tracy Yarden, who writes on occasions now. Basically, you're always going to have people criticizing some things about the comic that they don't like. And maybe even criticize the writer for what they're doing. For example, one person that's here on YouTube as well as DeviantArt is Louis-the-Hedgehog, or LTH. I call him LTH because he's got the same last name as my brother. The same first name as my brother-in-law. But this is a almost 4-page, I guess you could say, rant or text that he put on recently, about a half hour ago or so, today, where he talks about Ian Flynn. Now, trust me when I say this is his opinions, not mine. And I respect everybody's opinions. I do. That's why I don't always lash out against people like Ezekiel or Digimon 11. I don't do that because, hey, it's their opinion. If they feel differently about something, or they feel a certain way, that's their opinion. I'll let them leave it at that. You know, maybe I'll send them a message and try, maybe I'll send them a video message like I've done before and try to get the word across that I am middle grounded. It may not seem like it at times, but I am. So, anyway, this is Louis-the-Hedgehog's, or LTH's, I guess you could say his rant that he posted on DA today, on DeviantArt. And it's entitled, Louis's Thoughts on Ian Flynn. Yeah, Louis's thoughts on Ian Flynn. And this is what he says, and I quote, as of today. This is what he says, and I quote, "You know, if people can whine and complain how," and he puts this in quotations, if you will, commas, or whatever you want to call it, apostrophes, I don't know, parentheses is the half circles, the quotation marks, if you will. This is what he says. This is what he says. "You know, people can whine and complain how furries ruin their childhood," he quotes that, puts that in quotation marks. "Won't it only be fair that I'm allowed to say that Ian Flynn ruined mine? Now before you say," and he capitalizes this, and as well as puts it in quotation, "but Louis, all those furries with sick fetishes," let me cut you off right there. Or let me cut you off right there. The fetishes are not the reason why we exist. And it's no different from what most, if not all, other fan bases do. It's a fan base, not a fetish. Personally, I would not feel comfortable in any fan base that any mandates for or against this activity. As long as this material is not made in any sort of official capacity in relation to the franchise in such a way that alienate the fan base, the only regulation I would be comfortable with would be fetishes optional. Because in that scenario, you can at least still enjoy the core of the franchise without having to go through that kind of material due to the fact that it's not being made in any sort of official capacity. Besides, most of these things are not things that the fans really want to happen, but are just their own thoughts and, quotation, what if scenarios. In other words, people should not be punished for their thoughts. Besides, if that stuff offends you so much, you can always use content blockers. But this situation is different. Here's why. This time the shock value is being made in an official capacity. In other words, you cannot simply ignore this situation without dropping the comic, if not the whole franchise. In this case, adding a content filler cannot change this situation. That is the difference here. Besides, is being thought of as an attractive, not preferable? Okay, besides, is being thought of as an attractive, not preferable to being used as cannon fodder? And if he said yes, you clearly have issues. Now that I've cleared that up, regardless of what you think of him, you have to admit Ian Flynn has got to be the most diverse figure in the whole history of the franchise. Now, I always knew that this fan base was sharply divided. But now this division comes down through the very subcategory of fans who I respect or respected, and believed that they had the right stuff. it is nothing less than heartbreaking. Most hypocritical, most hypothetical or hypocritical is how he claims, most hypocritical is how he claims to, and he puts this in quotations, like Sally. But so far has, and he puts it down on a list, had her head blasted off by a gun torrent, had her brought back only to sacrifice herself in a way that makes no sense as to why she was roboticized and not the other people in the vicinity, and had Eggman carve up Sally's now roboticized body with a blowtorch like a turkey. And he puts an exclamation point after turkey. Just imagine her being dismembered with a chainsaw, strapped down to a metal table, screaming the whole time, and that's how she probably feels inside, trapped in that metal prison that was once her body. Shudders, and then he puts a little star thing that, he puts the whole thing he just said, just imagine deal, in parentheses, and then with the little stars goes, shudders and vomits in terror. You just love the power of the drama on, don't you, Ian? As the nostalgia critic said when reviewing The Temple of Doom, and I quote, and this is what he quotes from Doug Walker, quote, "Holy shit, this is like something a psycho would write." And this is mostly just watching people suffer. It's not fun. It doesn't add to anything particularly dramatic. It just seems sort of needlessly cruel. I mean, what the beep? Or what the fuck? Or WTF? Or basically, what the fuck gives Ian? Or what the fuck? What the fuck gives Ian? That's what he said. Are you trying to end the comic on a sad note? Break our brains, break our hearts, I should say, and give us nightmares? Why not just go balls to the wall and use that blowtorch to scoop out the brains of the princess, de-roboticize it, and then eat it Hannibal Lecter style? And this is what he puts in parentheses. And to an extent, he may very well have scooped her brains out. So even if they do de-roboticize her, a big portion of her brain will be missing. Which is especially sad to see happen to a character who is known for her intelligence, and you people say furries ruin childhoods. Oh, and did I mention that he still claims he likes her? Is it just me, or is that a creepy interpretation of the word like? It's a backwards interpretation that reminds me of a George Carlin routine where he's talking about that invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place. Full, and this is what he puts in capitalized, full of, and he capitalizes this, fire and smoke and torture and anguish, where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever to the end of time. But he loves you. Laughing out loud, Dill. I think we all know what they're talking about. No offense, God. Because I know God's watching me, so no offense, Lord and God. And he puts this in parentheses. Let me check my time here because I have 29-minute HD limit. Okay, I'm still okay. This is what he puts in parentheses here. Disclaimer. Sorry if I offended any believers out there. I happen to believe in God myself. It's just that I don't believe that God is some sort of invisible man. Nor do I believe that any loving God will look for so many reasons to be such a vengeful, bloodthirsty, sadistic prick with anger management issues. It's also the same reason why I don't believe Ian when he claims he likes Sally after all that has happened. Plus, this also reminds me of a stand-up routine his furry counterpart to the ranting Griffin. His counterpart to the ranting Griffin. And he quotes the ranting Griffin. Is it just me, or is it a creepy interpretation of the word respect? I don't think that's what Aretha Franklin meant when she was singing R-E-S-E-C-P or R-E-S-P-E-C-T. Get your rifle and shoot me. R-E-S, no! These are also the same people who say, what do you mean I don't respect my wife? I just beat her down with a table leg a few times ago. And then, and continues on, and then there is what's going on with the other characters. I hear Sonic is still kind of acting like a dick. I hear Rhoda is being tortured for days on end. Antoine is now in a coma. Bunny has been, spoiler, de-roboticized only to feel worthless to the point of throwing away the opportunity of her lifelong dream being accomplished by possibly having her limbs being hacked off and becoming a Dark Legion slave. For all I know, Minor and Nicole are still at each other's throats over something that was not her fault. By the way, they did make up, Louis, so just to let you know. But that probably changed since then. See? Hershey is MIA, missing in action, and presumed dead. And I can probably go on, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head right now. I haven't been reading the comic, but I barely even want to. I know I'm far from the first one who made this criticism, but it begs the question, are you trying to create a comic adaptation of a video game franchise or a soap opera? Or worse, a snuff film? Why not just make them all cannibals and get it over with? But as others pointed out, he won't be able to do that with Sonic, Amy, and Tails. I mean, yes, the Sega restrictions do suck. But you can't use that as an excuse for everything. Personally, in this case with a few examples, the restrictions were an advantage. A good writer, guess who, would not see these restrictions as a barrier, but as a challenge. In fact, for this reason, I wish there were more restrictions. And Ian, if the restrictions are real, if the restrictions really are that bad, why not get the fans on your side to help you defeat them? Oh, and I have to give him credit, he brings me out in this. Like BVW 1979, or BW Roses, said, he should just grow a spine. Yeah, I did say this. He should just grow a spine and tell Sega to shove the restrictions up their ass. Not to mention the restrictions can't justify everything he's done. Some of the characters can't even have a little as a paper cut. But how does that justify putting almost everyone else through absolute hell? And do you people really think that Sega will protect them like they did in Endgame? More and more people are seeing how these elements and characters have been weakened for the kill over the years, and the time for the kill may be close. Plus, I've seen Sega do stupider things than what I think will happen next. But you know what? With the direction this comic is going in, with all the shock value, disturbing imagery, and all the things that just don't add up, he may as well just kill off all the Sad AM and Archie characters, allow Nintendo to walk in, have Sonic fall in love with Pikachu, and have a kid. If you don't get the reference, count your blessings. Put that in parentheses. However, Ian actually responded to me. That's right. Ian Flynn actually responded to Louis-the-Hedgehog, LTH, at this site. At first I thought he was an easygoing, understandable guy, especially since I was surprised with the fact that he responded. He even claimed to like the work of Ben Herbst. But he asked, and he's quoting Ian here, how am I feeling the Sally haters? How am I feeding the Sally haters? That's what he said. He quotes Ian here saying, how am I feeding the Sally haters? Facepalm. Do I really have to spell it out for you? I bet this comic must be like the... Okay. Do I really have to spell it out for you? I bet this comic must be like porn for the Sally haters at this point. And you know what? I may think that Amy is extremely annoying at times, but that does not mean I usually want to see her used in some sort of grisly lab experiment. So why is this okay? Yes, ironically, when Ian defends his actions, it seems as though he is a master of words. Like I said, I nearly fell for his charms myself. This begs the question, why is he so good with words in defending his work, but not in his actual work? Notice how that just doesn't seem to add up. I believe that I'm the first one who caught that. Plus, coupled with how I've been told that he's been caught lying to the fans in the past, it all sounds extremely suspicious. Ian should have become a politician, one that rocks at campaigning and yet sucks at governing. And yet, scary enough, it's working. And I'm worried that as he's talking, he's holding his hands behind his back, with one hand crossing fingers and the other holding a knife. But even if things do work out for the best, what about the after effects? Let me check my time here. I may have to divide this in two parts. I apologize. But what about the after effects? X. I just hope they don't use this as an excuse to change Sally's outfit. Now, before you compare me to those who complained over those 2 seconds of gameplay in the green eyes, consider my real reason for the concern. For all we know, this panders to all those whiners out there going on and how she's naked, which tells me that they will listen to any idiot who says anything. I also had this concern when Sonic Genesis was released by having the new Sonic and the classic Sonic. Those people are the whiners, not me. Not to mention that this new outfit would be a constant reminder of this dark chapter. It's the same effect as being raped by a soda bottle. And every time you see a soda bottle, you start having traumatic flashbacks. And yeah, I do admit the comparison is a little extreme. At least when you're raped, you usually don't have parts of your body carved up like a turkey. And to go through all that just for an outfit change. I can just imagine what that spandex outfit will look like. And it must be hot under that thing. And I do not even mention what her reaction to what the others would have gone through. And I do not even mention what her reaction to what the others have gone through would eventually be, like especially her best friend Bunny. And I will finish the rest off in part 2. I got a 29-minute restriction here.